All right. I think we're live.
That's it. Just
That's
we're
it.
in. Let's go.
Boom.
So listen, I'll start by saying that I've been testing some new Chat GPT models. I'll
hmm
start. I'll try to start off on something relevant to our audience
hmm
if they actually appear. I've been testing O3 in particular,
hmm
and I have not tried O4 Mini or O4 Mini High. Or what was the
hmm
new one? I think there was one more. GPT 4.5 also apparently is going away, and I had not play with that a bunch because
Okay.
it's expensive. I found out it's actually
Oh
quite
yeah.
expensive, quite a bit more than the others. Yes, but
Mm.
O3 seems to have. It's like it can browse the web on its own now,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Okay, you were aware of this. I was not. It came
Yeah.
as a surprise to me because normally you have to add tools in and then like turn
hmm
on deep research and do a whole bunch of other stuff, but if you're trying to look up a topic and some of it has to be like newer content
Right.
and you're trying to do things, I'm testing with PRDs, I'll be honest, so
hmm
project requirement definitions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm talking faster because I've had my yerba mate, but mostly because I have found if you set things up in that kind of fashion as a requirement,
Yep.
it seems like the models are better equipped at giving you back, let's call them fully fledged plans, at least maybe not code, but let's talk like
hmm
a plan of attack. So if you're using Aider or Claude Code, for example, that seems to
hmm
be in the method that they prefer to work in. But if you're using a tool like just Sonnet 3.7, for example, it's quite good with it. What I found out though is Claude 3.7 does not give you great PRDs, and I think it's Gemini 2.5, maybe not Pro, but also doesn't do a great job of PRDs. What
And what do you
does
mean by
though,
creating the PRD or
yeah,
using the
yeah,
PRD to do
and,
something?
yeah, giving you the PRD, using it to do something is phenomenal in
Yeah.
3.7. Like it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like having an employee. Like we're
Yeah.
almost at the point where we're like, listen, we're past the inebriated intern.
Right.
We may be past the intern stage.
Yeah.
It might actually be like new hire, like first week on the job kind of level, which is
hmm
phenomenal. Like, listen,
Right.
I'm not complaining. That is fantastic. If I can get
Yep.
somebody who can follow instructions and bring me back mostly fully fledged answers, that
hmm
is actually a massive leg
Yeah.
up. And I mentioned before, I've been using these frameworks to kind of use new tools or learn new tools. I've been playing around with Bolt, both the hosted version,
hmm
which I paid for because I actually find it kind of fun, and the local version, the free open
hmm
source version. And what I found is if you give them a proper PRD that's not too long because the context window
hmm
can mess up, if it's short enough, concise enough, and to the point, it will actually generate a working application, which is
hmm
like Replit can do this as well. I think V0 from Vercel can
Yeah.
also do a pretty good job, just to mention some other ones out there. I just happen to like the Bolt UI.
Yeah.
Will actually get you started with something that works, which is
Yeah.
kind of amazing. Like
Yeah.
maybe I've been a skeptic this whole time, and like getting there is good, but not just that, but also offline tools like Aider hooked up to Olama, for example, or
hmm
similarly, I think it's Bolt.new is their open source version hooked up to Olama as well.
Right.
And I've been using. I think the chat recommended Quencoder like probably for months, like
Right.
months
Right.
on end. Keep recommending. And I looked into it, and every time I went to use it, I would get an answer back in Mandarin. Once in a while, I have yet to see that these days with Quen. The model's surprisingly okay. There were some rumors on, I think it was Reddit, that the prompt may have had an extra space or was missing an extra space or something,
Mm.
just messing up the language recognition sometimes. So it could have
hmm
been that that was fixed specific to Olama. It could have been that that's
Mm.
fixed, and as a result, I'm no longer seeing it. But it's surprisingly
Mm.
handy, doesn't take a lot of overhead, and generally will spit out good code
Yeah.
examples. Also, I've been continuing on like just that little bash script thing, and
Right.
surprisingly, they're getting to the point now where they can kind of get it right as long as they give
Right.
it like a boilerplate. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say like, listen, fire all your like. What
Mhm.
does the Primogen say? Like, are we cooked? I don't think we're cooked yet. but
Yeah.
we're getting close to cooked. I'm learning Expo, which I had never heard of before, and I
What
thought
is that?
it's another JavaScript framework that can allow you
Oh, great.
to make apps basically. So if you want to make like
Okay.
an Android app, an iOS app,
Oh,
or
okay.
just like a self-contained kind of the PWA, you
Right.
could do that as well. But just again, just going at a front end framework,
Right.
trying to see what I can get out of the generators,
Right.
reading the code, trying to figure out like a paradigm or an architecture that works, and then learning something new
Yeah.
with new methods is phenomenal. Anyway, all
Yeah.
this to say, I feel like O3 if you're the type of person who often would add like the web search tool and the deep research tool, it feels like O3 is cheaper than that. And the results are really good. And the PRDs that it spits out. Now, one funny fact is it's full of emojis all the flipping time. And I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I legit don't need the emojis because I know they cost
Right.
more tokens. Like they're
Right.
the Unicode characters. So I know for a fact if I drop these, it's less token usage. However, it is pretty cool to like read through them with the emojis. And
Yeah.
and I get that newfangled kind of PRDs might look
Right.
like this. Maybe I'm too old for this gig or something like that. But it's great. Like we're talking like a 5-page PRD. You could
Yeah.
use this. The example I've been using recently is a translation app from English to Japanese. Not both ways, just one way. Yeah, it feels like a simple problem. It is not a simple
Right.
problem.
And
then
so
just
for creating the
going through
PRD,
it.
you're creating like the first draft and then tweaking it, or are you tweaking it with the model, or are you tweaking it on your own?
Both. Yeah, I've tried all of those methods. So I've tried
Okay.
writing my own, which is fine. And then what I
Right.
realized is that there's generally blind spots, and I'll get the model to kind of fill out those blind spots because you'll notice as you feed them in as prompts, some assumptions will be made, which may or may not be incorrect. But basically, a lot of the times I need to give it some direction. And in order to eliminate the direction, you can make it longer, but then your context window is longer as a result. So if you're looking for
Right.
like a zero shot and you've got a nice long context, no problem. But generally, you probably work with something that you've defined and then add to it kind of thing. So, but my
Yeah.
issue was like if you made a translation app and it wasn't available offline, probably not handy. Maybe add that into the
Right.
doc kind of thing.
Right.
Or perhaps it'd be great to have, and this is from the LLM, I didn't even think about it, but perhaps it would be good to have an audio pronunciation guide as opposed to something that's only written. Or maybe a video, or I thought about cartoons or stuff like that, or all types of fun stuff. Like what are different ways that people learn, basically.
Yeah. I think in general, with all these tools, I mean, the prompt is always, anytime you're working with any tool, having having a more detailed prompt is always helpful. But not too long. I mean,
Not over detailed, yeah.
Don't
Yes.
don't repeat yourself. But all the basics are covered and all the details are covered. Exactly what you want. Don't have the model kind of guess what you want when building out. When going from PRD to, or from initial prompt to an application, or to whatever you're doing. Even generating an answer about what is XYZ, having as much detail about the role of the model, the level of detail you want, the style having all that is super helpful. And with development, having that PRD, whatever PRD means to you.
Right.
I don't know if there's probably a standard for what a PRD does.
There is. Yeah, and different companies may have different standards, but yeah, there's like kind of a standard, yeah.
But it's also helpful for you to figure out. It's kind of like creating videos. How I create a video. If I do more of the work up front,
impetus, and then like what is the actual goal?
Do the work up front so that you have a specific thing that you want to get done. If you're and then have the model do it. And then there's probably very little work on the other side to, get it to exactly what you want. There's still going to be work, but it'll be less. And the same thing with creating videos. If I do more of the work up front, I create a script, I prepare everything, I think of all the demos, I do all that stuff, and then I make the video. It's so much faster to, and overall, even with including all that work put in front, the overall time from idea to publish is so much faster. And I think it's the same thing here. You don't, provide as much detail as you can. And as you're providing the detail, you're going to realize that first idea you had was kind of stupid.
It's terrible.
and you're going to figure out the right way to do things. Right.
Almost always, like my initial approach is actually like completely flawed in some way. And I could go it alone and develop an app and get it done. Like, let's assume I've mocked it up in Python or something like that, and we're just using CLI to test. I would quickly understand that there's a problem in the logic. What I find interesting is that you often don't need to build it out in order for the LLM to sort of poke holes in your assumptions. That you just you just didn't think of it, especially for me because I legit don't understand front
Right.
I can't stress this enough that I've actually avoided front end for almost 30 years. There's things in CSS that I don't get, in JavaScript that I don't get. Some of the architecture is alien to me. I'm used to like an API receiving request from a front end. That part I get, but it's really interesting to kind of go around those assumptions in terms of like, hey, what should be on a CDN? How do you handle
Right.
security? How's authentication done? If someone wanted to
Right.
pay, how would they do that? What does a checkout process look like? There's just so many
Yeah.
little things that I've honestly had teams that are like really good. You realize after a while, like,
Yeah.
I may have made fun of their code when I'm trying to push it to prod and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they've got that experience that
Yeah.
I just don't have in terms of like, hey,
Yeah.
which React framework we're using, like how
Right.
many different versions of Angular need to be running on the
Right.
prod site. That kind of stuff, like I used to think is ridiculous, and now that I see it, it's like, oh yeah, this is how they got into that
Yeah.
hole. Like this library is not compatible with the newer version, but the rest of the sites in this version. So I
Right.
get why they're there, and they don't want to bring the library up, or like it takes so much work, or that's yak shaving. So you table it for next quarter, and now I'm seeing it as like, oh yeah, the JavaScript ecosystem is fraught with peril. Like
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
bunch of packages out here. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. It's very popular, and
Yeah.
as a result, you have to be careful.
So it's interesting. I'm just realizing this now that, this idea of preparing in advance and
Yes,
writing the PRD and coming up with helps you flesh out your thoughts about what you
absolutely.
want to get done. And I've been listening to or watching some videos recently that basically are saying the same thing, but for a
Okay.
very different use case.
Interesting.
So the YouTuber is David Perell,
Okay.
Perell,
Yeah.
and he's got basically a series. His channel, I think, is How to Write, and it's just
Oh,
writing
interesting.
literature, writing fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is. He's got a great video where he talks about the style of Paul Graham, who created Y Combinator,
Right.
and how what is like kind of his rules about writing, and how does he write, and it's that combined with another one that's
Hmm.
about an interview with Tim Ferriss. Actually, a whole bunch of the interviews that are on that channel are all about using writing to flesh out your thinking. And
Right.
if you haven't written about it, you haven't really thought about it.
Oh, you may have just nerd sniped me. I already like this channel. I was just browsing
Yeah,
through here. I'll try to add to the
it's
comments, but
fantastic. Like
that
every
is
channel,
phenomenal.
every video is fantastic. Um, and there's one with Sean Puri, I think is his name. That's also fantastic. There's just so many. Johnny Harris has an interview, who does amazing videos. It's just all the videos on there on his channel are fantastic, and you're
Very
gonna like
cool.
watch the There's also one on like 180 minutes of advice from all the interviews he's done in 2024, and that I mean the first one
Like a compendium.
was the first little clip is his interview or part of his interview with Amor Towles, the
Okay.
guy who did Gentleman in Paris.
Interesting.
And but then Mark Forsyth, which is also really interesting, and just so many. So that was probably a good one to start with,
Right
and then
on.
you can go to all the others, and they're great.
Will do. Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
doing so. Dash is coming up. Datadog has an
yeah,
annual conference called Dash, and it's less than 50 days away, so it's top of mind. And I think I mentioned this last week, maybe the week before, that I'm kind of shepherding some product marketing managers through
hmm
writing some things. And listen, I'm not going to throw them under the bus. They're new to this type of writing, which
yeah,
is thinking about a different audience. So if we're not
yeah,
going to target decision makers but engineers,
right,
how do we context switch kind of thing?
yeah,
And it's interesting watching people try to, I don't know, is it like a different voice maybe, or a different
hmm
style of writing? And
right,
it's easy for some people and it's harder for others. And I kind of laughed about it a little bit jokingly. And then aha moment this morning came in where some of the sessions this year for speakers, we're trying to get them to be a little bit more technical insofar as like how you use the product. So
hmm
not enablement, but something similar to that. So we got some feedback over the years where people are like, it'd be great if we knew how to use your product. Like it
right,
sounds amazing.
right,
And you
right,
get clients coming up here talking about how amazing it is, but like workshops are full, and we'd like to actually know like what can you use
Yeah.
this product for, kind of thing. So there's been a
Right.
request for these kind of things, and we've avoided them because they feel a little bit unnatural. And I
Mhm.
get to one of my sessions, and the review came this morning. It's like, you've missed the mark, like completely. And one of it was like, I didn't realize it was a product session. So fair, no
Right.
harm, no
Right.
foul. But also when I looked at it and tried to put it in that kind of wording, because I've been like,
Right.
it's almost like I've been flexing my right bicep this entire time and ignoring the left. But when it comes to
Right.
writing marketing text now, I'm like, oh shoot, like I actually could use a PMM to help me with this, because
Mhm.
like they have this voice, and in fact
Right.
they've worked on this muscle for years.
Right.
And as a result, when it comes to trying to swap spots at the table, in fact, I'm not sure I'm equipped to write in that voice.
Right.
And this is where, like, I guess 2025 me is like, hey, can I reach out to ChatGPT and kind of help me out here?
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. Like, I want to make sure that my brain can kind of grasp what the goal is, or
Right.
what makes it marketing context. But I feel like you're absolutely right. Until I write this down, I actually
Yep.
don't know how to explain it. Where I thought I
Yeah.
did, it turns out what I know actually is the technical side. I don't
Mhm.
actually understand the marketing side, and I don't know how to put that in to put that forward in a way where it shows a compelling way that you could use a product as well
Right.
as entice somebody to ask you about more. It's interesting.
And
Anyway,
and
like, grass is
and
greener,
that
obviously.
that is kind of what that first section of that video, that long
Nice.
100 whatever minutes,
Yeah.
Amor Taos, talking
Okay.
about understanding different perspectives and writing from those different perspectives. And the example
Right.
is very different kind of writing, where he's talking about, if writing about a 1930s or 1940s scene where there's a mother and child, 5-year-old, 6-year-old,
Mhm.
7-year-old child, writing about, you might instinctively write about, what does the mother see, but
Right.
you watch the video. It's great. You watch the video. It's
Yeah.
yeah. And another one is a great one with Sam Altman.
Oh,
And a lot of that one is actually about how he takes notes and how
interesting.
he uses his writing to come up with interesting ideas. And that was connected to Paul Graham, because Sam Altman used to be
Right.
president of Y Combinator.
Right.
So anyway, pretty
Which
interesting stuff.
somehow I forget all the time. Have you ever heard of What the Dog Saw? It's a Malcolm Gladwell book from a while ago. It's a collection of
No,
stories, but it's kind of like, from the dog's point of view. Like,
right.
you think this, you think that, and I think he's using the dog here as a way to think, to show
Mhm.
you how to think differently, basically. So it's kind of like that easy thing that you can grasp, but
Mhm.
also think a bit differently. Yeah.
Right.
We did have one question come in
Yeah.
here from RE13. It seems a bit meaty, and I figured I'd give you a first pass at it, because I might,
Okay.
because I don't know anything about A2A. Just we'll start there. I know it's been announced. I've definitely not touched it.
So I'm not very tech savvy, but I'm looking for a solution that I can run entirely on my local machine using an Ollama LLM without
Right.
relying on any paid third-party APIs. Great. Ideally, I'd like something similar to N8N, MCP servers, or Google's A2A protocol. I don't know about A2A. I know
think
it might
it's agent to
sound
agent. Yeah. Sorry.
okay. Some might sound a bit ambitious, but I believe you're the right person to help me figure this out. Well, what do you want the solution to
Consulting.
do?
Yeah, it sounds like consulting.
It's. I'm looking for a solution that without something similar to N8N. Well, okay, how about N8N?
Yeah, it feels like N8N plus Ollama and
Yeah,
possibly
and
MCP servers. That's exactly what you're
MCP.
looking
Yeah, you
for.
can totally.
Yeah.
There's a MCP integration recently. There was a community plugin for N8N, and now there's more of an official implementation, which is a lot better than that original plugin, which was a great first step. Oh, my volume is a little bit low. Okay,
A little bit lower than mine. Yeah, I noticed that as well.
is that any better?
Uh, I think it is. But here, let's see
Okay,
what the chat says.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I would go for N8N, and I think I loved the tool, and I loved it so much, and I thought I was so excited when they offered to sponsor some of my videos. So that's
Oh no!
in
Do we have
fact,
a shill in the chat setting you up, teeing you up?
I
Do you
don't
have a
know,
shill in the
maybe.
chat, teeing-
Um,
I'm just teasing.
Uh,
RE3
yeah. In fact, I just got my first payment for
Holy
like
moly!
the first payment for any sponsored content on my channel. I was like, oh, so exciting! So I bought a MKH50 mic.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the new mic, you
Anyway.
may want to adjust the volume up just a tiny little bit more, I think is what
Oh,
Aaron
yeah?
is saying. But yeah,
How about that?
I think that's a bit there.
Yeah. All right.
But that is
Better.
fantastic. It's good to hear. I mean, you've
Yeah,
been working your butt off here for quite some time.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm now trying to balance making videos, but also working with sponsors to make videos.
Right.
And so my output this month has been terrible because I've been more focused on calls with potential sponsors. That has been really
Well,
hard.
hold up. We just covered that the pre-work's pretty important, right? Yeah, I think that's okay.
We did, yes. Yeah.
We just learned a lesson.
And so sponsors that can work for more than just a single video become really fantastic. And so I'm excited about being able to do many videos with N8N.
Of course, yeah, you could unlock a series or something like
yeah,
that, which would be awesome, right?
If you're looking to add automation to your local machines, you may consider looking at Ansible. So a different kind of automation. You can also get large language to generate the playbooks and files. So, I mean, Ansible is mostly for deployment of I mean, although you could do it, you could use it for anything. I mean, it's basically Ansible is just SSHing into a box and running a script over SSH, which is incredible. Yeah. So, but I think something like N8N is a different kind of thing that you're going to be doing.
So sorry, I'm raising my eyebrows here pretty high because I found an Ansible Tower MCP server. And full disclosure, I haven't touched Ansible in years, and I used to be a massive fan. There's nothing wrong with Ansible, but I just haven't had the need for it. I think once you get into the Kubernetes kind of area, generally Ansible and Terraform aren't as important as they may have been before.
Right.
But to that note, I hadn't thought of adapting this as a server because it feels like MCP you can kind of bolt on most APIs. And it's not much work to kind of like lever the endpoints that you've got and call those quote unquote actions. This is pretty cool. Interesting. You've I've been nerd twice on this call so far. Thanks, A2A. Fantastic. Cool. What else is new in the Ollama world? I think there was a couple new announcements. Yeah.
There's they're doing more and more with departing from Llama CPP. So using their own engine, and more pieces of that you're seeing that migrate. So I think one of the recent things I noticed was around embedding and it was quantization. And seeing like a 25% speed gain by switching off of Llama CPP for that piece. But I mean, that piece was that quantization piece. I'm not sure if it was a shell script or a Python. I think it was a shell script that actually did and so it's speeding that up.
Gotcha. Shell scripts aren't known to be fast. Unfortunately, it's as fun as they are to make. They're definitely
there were
not
two
fast.
parts. There was quantization, and then there was the conversion to GGF, and then the quantization part. And I can't remember which one was which. But anyway, I just saw that PR get approved. That was it had a pretty significant speed improvement.
I've been looking to MLX for things that you can run on your phone or Vision Pro or what have you. It's actually pretty phenomenal. I didn't realize I know you explained it to me, and it kind of like went in one ear and out the other, but I didn't realize how much copying, quote unquote, between memory types when there's only one memory type on the M series was happening and just how bad it slows things down as a result. And obviously, when you're on your phone, you can do things like WASM and all this fun stuff.
Right.
But if you can load it natively and call it up in Swift code, it's way faster. It's really cool. I hadn't thought of it. And this is kind of like when I was poking holes in the PRD for like doing offline translation. How would you do that with a local language model? And how would you run that on Android or iOS, what have you? And it turns out like iOS actually doesn't have a lot of system RAM as a result of generally not needing it because they compress the memory and turn things off and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, won't bring up that war there. But as a result, the hardware doesn't have a lot of memory. Without a lot of memory, quantization helps for sure. Like I think a lot of the Q4 kind of models will work. But if you're looking at something like Aya 32B, I think it is, it's going to take a lot of memory. Like it's going to struggle to fit in 6 gigabytes of memory. And probably 12 is what it wants. And you can further quantize it, but it's not going to get any better in terms of translation. So it's like, do you distill it or do you convert it or what do you do? And it turns out like MLX is actually a solution in some of these cases for smaller models, or maybe like pulling off, like I think it's Mistral is the example, is if you're not loading it all into memory all the time, then you're actually not using all that memory, even though if you were load all the experts together at the same time, it would look like that. We're getting a lot of comments. Fantastic.
Is there an existing tool or setup that lets me integrate an agent with Ollama, something where I can just use prompts to generate code directly on my local machine?
Oh, I mean, Ollama kind of does that. Yeah.
I mean, Ollama, or I mean, if you want to generate, I just use prompts to generate code. I mean, that's the whole idea of Continue or Twinny or all sorts of other plugins for VS Code.
Or even Aider on the command line. Yeah, sure. Aider with Ollama on the command line. But you're right. Like the front end is probably what you're looking for. So the IDE, once you get your IDE, generally will have something that can use Ollama as a backend, be it like Matt said, an extension or what have you.
Yeah. Those are fine, Grace. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although
sorry,
I mean, I also I think both of us really enjoy if you can spend the $10, $15 a month doing either Cursor or Windsurf, or there's probably some others out there as well that are. I mean, I prefer Windsurf over Cursor, but some people prefer the other way around.
They've got their bonuses.
That's kind of amazing. Amazing what they can do.
Had not heard of small agents. Interesting enough, I've dealt with some of the small models.
Right.
So there's a comment in there recommending that we look at Hugging Face small agents, SMOL, which is no,
Sam.
I've been
who is the author of GoLlama.
Oh, I was like, is it Sam Altman?
No, Sam. I've forgotten your last name, but Australian guy who created GoLlama, which I love.
That was pretty early over there in Australia, so thank you for waking up early. I appreciate it.
And then what was? Oh yeah, and he added the cache quantization feature in Ollama, which was
nice.
a couple months ago. But it took him like so one of the frustrating things about Ollama is it's an open source project, but it is mostly it is.
I was on GitHub trying to find his name.
McLeod, yes. So mostly it's the 7, 8, 9 people that are the main developers, and then there's lots of people who are contributing code,
right?
But there's so much stuff to sift through, and some of it is garbage, or is just written in a way that's doesn't fit well with where Patrick is trying to go and where Michael and Jeff are trying to go with it, and so, but the team they're very reluctant to say no.
But yeah,
and so
it's hard,
they
right?
prefer
it's like yes and.
They much prefer leaving things open-ended than saying no. I mean, if there's something that they are not going to do.
Did you almost say we're no. There?
I was going to say we, because this was one of the things that got me into trouble. Was that would
you say no?
I would find out. Yeah, because I found out.
Oh,
Are we gonna? Are we
I would
going to
assume
do
he
this
was a
thing?
yes man. Oh, all right.
Are we going to do this thing? No. Is there any chance that we're ever going to do this thing? No. And then I said in an issue, no, we're not going to be doing this thing, and close the issue. And that was a sticky point.
What we would call an RGE, a resume generating event.
Yeah,
Listen, I've done
yeah,
that before. What is it?
yeah,
Strong opinions loosely held.
yeah.
It can be tough. Especially when it comes to open source, it's really hard to navigate how to handle, because people,
Right,
you don't want to harsh survive. They're in there, they're
right,
excited, they want to contribute. It's like, yeah, I mean, you fork it, fork whatever you
right.
need, kind of thing. Like
But
fork
my
you too,
point,
but yeah, you don't want to say that part. It's just like, have fun.
yeah. But my point there was that Sam wrote this thing, and then as Olama changed, he would update his PR
Oh, that's
to
awesome.
adapt to wherever the state of Olama was, and then it would change again drastically, and he'd change it again, and
Ah,
constantly shepherd it through, and spend, really trying to convince people to, like, this is really valuable. You really, and finally, like, something clicked with, I think Jeff was the first one to really say, "Oh, this looks really cool," and like moved it forward. And I mean, I feel
it's
like
a
it took
busy
him like
repo. Like
6 months.
even just finding a PR in that repo,
Yeah,
it can be hard. Like
yeah,
even just looking at the closed stuff can be hard. Having searched through it before, looking for random things or trying to find stuff that relates,
yep,
it can be very tough. So I think
yeah,
what Sam deserves here is a round of applause for landing a PR
yes,
in an extremely busy
yes,
repo, because that
yeah,
is difficult.
yeah.
It's kind
I
of,
mean,
people
so
compare
many
it to changing
people
the
will,
tires on a car, but like, yeah, it's moving. Like,
yeah,
it's tough.
and so many other PRs that people have submitted. Um, they get it submitted, and then they get negative feedback from
Right.
people in the community, or actually the very rarely, I mean, very rarely will they get negative feedback from the actual team members. But and then it takes more than 2, 3, 4 weeks, and I see some of those issues or some of those PRs get closed by the original developers. Like, screw it, I don't care.
Yeah, and honestly, having watched the repo pretty closely for a number of months, I think the worst I ever saw is like, that's not currently in our plans, kind of thing, which is
Yeah,
actually fantastic. And I
yeah,
did see a lot of PRs closed by the devs who opened them.
yeah,
I mean, that happens too, but
yeah.
it's a good repo. The other one I follow,
Yeah.
and again, no harm, no foul, but I follow the Open
Hmm.
Telemetry one pretty closely as
Oh yeah.
well,
Okay.
and it's a completely different community, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I tend to watch things pretty closely because I'm like, I want to get the pulse, I guess, if you could,
Yeah.
like what is that thing that we used to do at Twitter, sentiment analysis. So it's like, I
Hmm.
want to do sentiment analysis on
Right.
the PRs that are coming in, and
Right.
I'm sure you could do this with LLM, but generally, as I watch them coming into my inbox every morning, I'll scroll through the popular
Yeah.
repos that got a lot of stuff overnight, and it's, you can really feel like the goodwill
Yeah.
or the frustration or what have you in the tone of the English
Yeah.
that's coming through. And it's, yeah, I'd say it's a great project. But again, congrats, Sam, and thank you so much for joining us at 7:30 a.m. That's amazing. Now, Sam recommended something called Klein, which I have not
Mm.
tried, and it's been recommended by a few people to me. And I think if I'm trying to categorize all of the IDEs, that seems to be my next thing, is to test
Right.
all of the IDEs. I feel like I've got to try Klein, and then the other is it ChatGPT Code? I think is what the term
Yeah.
is,
So
but
that's a new
which I've not
one,
tried.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So there was another interesting YouTube video. I can't
Hmm.
remember who. I think I saw it yesterday or 2 days ago, talking about how this more recent the ChatGPT Code, whatever the product is called, and then more of the O3 Mini, or O3 and O4 Mini being
Right.
reasoning models that work with tools, and incorporating MCP, as a, you can use MCP with OpenAI,
Yep.
um, and and then also the um, apparently they are working on acquiring Windsurf at $3 billion.
Who is?
OpenAI.
What?
So that, I don't know how much
Sorry,
of that is. I've seen a
I thought
number
that
of
was a
articles
rumor.
talk about that. I've seen
Really?
a
There's a
number of
number?
articles talk about that.
That's a pretty
Um,
good valuation. It's
yeah,
10x, right? Okay. I mean,
yeah,
all right,
and
all right.
and then it shows that they are really so many developers. First think if they're going to start using Windsurf or Cursor, they're instantly go to Claude 3.7 or whatever the word is for it, but 3.7, and that's the best one to use because OpenAI kind of lost that developer mindset or developer default, and they're trying to get that back by doing all these things, this blast all at once.
I mean, no one wants to be the VS Code Copilot, which, I mean, as sad as this sounds,
Yeah.
like that was phenomenal. Only a year,
Yeah.
let's say 2 years ago was Soda, as we'd say these days, state of the art.
Yeah.
Like only 2 years ago, and now no one cares, and it's so weird because like it's not like the tool is bad or the IDE is bad, but it's just the competition is so much better.
Yeah.
And I pulled it up just quickly to look, but the last I checked, 150 Series C is what Codium had before the name changed, because now they're Windsurf, I believe, as a company.
Windsurf, yeah.
So that's almost 20x, or maybe it's more than 20x at that valuation, which is, I mean, again, another round of applause. Having met some of this team in person and gotten like an eye mask or whatever and a funny shirt.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Phenomenal people. Yeah. The best part is in the chat, everybody's like, yeah, no, you're just old. That shirt sounds amazing. Can you send it to me? But no, like seriously, I like seeing this kind of success, like the rubber's meeting the road. People are actually using these tools to do work. We're seeing like maybe my marketing managers are sending me stuff that's going through ChatGPT, but I'll tell you their edits and updates are really fast. If that's the result of this, and we start off with something that's not pretty, but we get to something awesome, I kind of don't care. And that's in writing, something that I do all the time. And if it's code, if we're just doing sample repos or just starting in dev, we're not necessarily shipping it to prod, or we're just trying to, prove a point or go through what people call ideation, but let's call it brainstorming. Fantastic. I feel like we're at the point now where we're changing the way people code, which is, again, just like blows my mind.
Never reply with +1 on GitHub PRs. Yes.
Oh, the replies are the worst. The little emojis are fine. Like on the comment or on the PR, totally okay. Rocket ship +1, whatever. The replies that spam my inbox when I wake up in the morning, it's another bad indicator. And one of the ones most recently in the Llama PR list actually was for, was it Llama 3.4? I think it was the most recent one. Or sorry, Llama 4 was the most recent one. Yeah, so that PR came out, and I think the first comment was somebody saying, "Let the devs sleep, it's Saturday," which I thought was phenomenal. I was like, yeah, somebody decided to drop this model at 3 a.m. on a Saturday, or 3 a.m. Friday night, I guess. Like, people got to sleep. They're not going to wake up and start converting this to GGUF like right away. On top of which, look at how much memory this is. Like, it needs to be quantized first or something. It was pretty funny. Anyway, I thought the replies were pretty good, but shortly after that, it did devolve into what Sam's talking about, which just people saying +1 without understanding the problem space, and honestly, not understanding like the dev at the other end of this receiving all of these email messages, the deluge of noise, because there's no signal in there anymore. Anyway, some people try to bring it back around, which is cool to watch.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who will create mostly issues that are just, they didn't read the documentation. I'm like the obvious document. Some of them obvious documentation, but they don't know to look for the documentation. They don't know where to look. They don't know to go to the website and look at docs.
If I wrote a bot that pointed to the docs, would that be like? Because that's what I thought.
I feel like
at work we have the same problem. Obviously, at Datadog, people all day, every day, and it's legit in the docs. We have a great documentation team. I'm not even just saying this; the phenomenal documentation team, and no one's reading the docs, and it kills me. Like it actually, somebody spent time on this FAQ that covers the top 10 questions that you've got, including how many GPUs can I use with Llama, which we used to get all the time on this show. Like it's in there. Please just read the docs. How do I get started with Docker? Like it's also in Llama docs. It's phenomenal. Anyway, yes, I totally agree. It feels like a lot of people forget the goodwill, the fact that somebody's
Yeah.
actually spent time on this. And maybe that's one of the things that I sort of regret around this is the commoditization of coding or code, I guess is what I was trying to say, but coding and coding practices and the experience involved in getting, like, that's kind of what I'm realizing now is like some of the QA engineers that you laughed at, sir,
Right.
were actually doing a really good job. And in fact,
Right.
now that you need to do the QA job that they were doing on this, well, honestly, pretty awful code that you've just generated, you realize just how much work these people have been putting in day out and the patience it takes just to explain to you that you're wrong in a nice way, especially when you've got seniority or something like that, where it's like eating humble pie. It's hubris, basically. The entire exercise is filled with hubris. But I guess it's good. But I do regret a little bit that people don't seem to put the same amount of importance, I guess, on programmers and the code that they create and the thought process that went into it, the edge cases, the reason things are built a little bit differently, that kind of stuff is. It feels like we're losing a little bit of that respect for our elders here. Like, I wrote this in C because it was 1980. Like, there was no Rust. Thank you very much. Anyway, I'll put my soapbox off to the side, but yes, coding practices are still important.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's bad mouthing Windsurf and Cursor for Klein. Sam, quick,
ban
for cover.
Ban user.
Yeah, I mean, his next comment kind of sort of explains to me why I like Aider a lot more than a few of the other tools, and Claude Code and possibly Codex CLI, which I think is the GPT one. Is that difference between now you're an architect, now like the plan mode, now you're a coder. Now you're deploying things, like now you're checking if the deployment of prod work. That kind of stuff is awesome. That's more like not one intern, but like an intern architect. Like that doesn't happen. How do you get an intern architect? Or if you've ever been in a big business, just getting the enterprise architect to talk to you can take forever. It can take weeks, if not months, just to like start coming up with a plan that's going to be, that will whet the appetite of your business to let you start working, which is ridiculous. But yes, Sam's absolutely right. I will need to talk. I need to try Klein so I can talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil.
I know nothing about. I know nothing about Klein.
It's CLI based, is what I know. I think that's the CLI in the name.
Right.
I think.
No, coding agent for VS Code.
Oh, well, there you go. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Look at that. This would not be the first nor the last time. Thanks, Sam.
Cool.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this came up as a suggested plugin for Cursor, and I tried to install it. It didn't work.
Right.
You know how sometimes it will say, like, this workspace needs this? I think it was just popular or something. That's hilarious. Okay, I've definitely seen this logo before and tried to install and failed. I'll go back to VS Code and give it a kick. Very neat.
Yeah.
I was convinced it was a CLI tool. Very cool.
I feel like you will love it just because one of the screenshots has Polaroid in it.
Where?
And so therefore you're a fan.
Which screenshot? I'm on the page right now.
So if you scroll down to Safe for Work, the example is a blog post, I think, on Polaroid Instant Quantum Reality.
Oh.
I think it's just the example that they're writing. Oh, yeah, it's the HTML that they're writing.
Yeah. So this is the Impossible Project. Is who's writing this article, which is kind of interesting. Who are the people who resurrected Polaroid? And they're talking about Edward Land, who is more than a little bit of or Edwin Land, sorry, more than a little bit of a visionary about what a photo should be. And we're kind of not there yet, but we're sort of getting there. Yeah. I feel like the Instax wide Evo that I just got is closer to his vision. Anyway, long rant about Polaroid, but I like this text that they're talking about. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow, native MCP support. You're blowing my mind here, Sam. This is fantastic. Supports any backend. All right, so who is it? RE13 Nexus? Yeah, we owe you another option here. It looks like Klein. Yeah. Klein is certainly one of those other options. If you can support any backend, then yeah, definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got a recommendation for you, but I don't think you can play it. It's a video game.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't think you can play it
Uh,
unless you pull out your Switch again, which I can't see you doing.
I can't remember where it is.
Oh no! I mean, there's a second one coming out soon. Maybe you can just buy this for that.
Yeah.
So I've been playing this game, which is I think you would call it a rogue-like is the term. So it means that a certain portion of the game is randomly generated. And in this
Okay.
case, the game's called Dave the Diver, and the randomly generated part is the ocean. So when you're exploring the ocean, it's kind of new and it's very relaxing. Actually, it's pretty chill. At least early on in the game, you dive, you scuba diving. There's fish. You've got a harpoon for some reason you're hunting fish with, as well as a knife. You eventually get a net and some other stuff, and you hunt a lot of sharks, which is weird. But it's a fun game that's very relaxing, and most importantly, I think it was $13 on sale when I got it, which was fantastic. And I've spent like 20 hours in this tiny game, and it's actually pretty fun. So so one portion is collecting your ingredients underwater, and then the other half of the game is kind of like Overcooked. I think is a game where it's cooperative, but you're staffing a restaurant basically. So it's kind of like Overcooked is half of the game, and then the other half is like Subnautica. And it's a cool little mismatch plus roguelite, and it is kind of cool. There's a bit of a story going on.
Dave the Diver?
Dave the Diver, yes.
Yeah. So it's on Steam.
Yes, on Steam, on Switch. Yeah, I think it's on PS4 or sorry, PS5 as well. Yes. There's an Apple book game guide, but that's about it. I don't think there's anything in the iOS store. It could probably
it's on
be
Mac OS and Windows.
Yeah. Oh, it's on Mac OS. I didn't know that. My apologies. It probably runs
in
perfectly
June
fine.
2023.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. Can't recommend it more. Very, very chill, very easy, not a lot of stress unless you really feel like you need to go hunting sharks and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not bad. Nice little romp. Very, very simple. And again, like $13 for 20 hours sounds like a steal to me. It's fantastic. Cool. And I guess, sorry, before I close the book on this topic, in the loading screens, it teaches you about fish, which I thought was phenomenal. They'll just give you like random fish facts. You know, sometimes you'll get the loading message that will say like reticulating splines and arranging pixels and all this fun stuff. It's like, why not teach people something? Right. And in fact, that's what it does. It shows a little animated picture of the fish. That's the same as in game. It'll give you a little fact on it. It's perfect. Anyway, big fan.
Wow. Okay.
What about yourself? What have you been up to? You've been still watching Paramount Plus?
Yeah, we started. Last night we were gonna watch. We started to watch Gentleman in Moscow. I happened to mention that earlier, but there's the series on Paramount Plus with the main character being played by Ewan McGregor. But then we realized I don't feel like heavy stuff. I mean, even though it's not, I don't think it's meant to be heavy, but it's Russian, revolution kind of time frame. And it's like, so we just watched Emily in Paris instead, which is our kind of go-to at the moment. It's so awful.
Do you feel like you're on vacation?
Yeah. I want to go I want to spend more time in Europe again.
Yeah, that's fair. So,
it's been a while, especially after living there for 10 years. I mean, not in Paris, but in Amsterdam.
In Netherlands, yeah, for sure. Now, listen, brace yourself. There's another comment here on your videos being of high quality.
I saw that, yes. I am the most underrated LLM content creator, yes. I am.
Is that what they say? Oh, sorry, I skipped over most of this. I probably will agree with this. I will say, having watched a couple of your videos, it's exhausting. It's just like being at work with you. But they are good. They're informative, straight to the point, easy to listen to. Even my partner has said you've got a good speaking voice.
And they will get even better with the new mic.
No. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's Sennheiser is what you got, right? MKH, I think.
Sennheiser's MKH50.
Yeah, classic.
Which is interesting. So, I don't know why, but you get it anywhere else, it is $1,400. You get it from Adorama, it is $1,300.
What?
And it is shipped from Sennheiser.
Feels like some sort of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've
Yeah.
got some sort of deal going on.
Yeah.
It's back ordered now. Oh, it was a
Yes.
closeout deal. Oh
Oh,
no.
closeout deal.
Closeout deal. Maybe they're releasing a new model.
Ah.
Wow. Yeah, it's $100 off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
back
it's been
ordered
like that
now,
for-
coming back in June.
Okay. It's been like that for, I mean, I've noticed a difference in price for like 4 months.
Yeah, BH is $100 more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wonder if that's a new
Amazing.
version.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Matt's voice requires upkeep. Requires upgrades if this is our
Yes,
roguelite.
yes.
Yeah, I think there is like a YouTuber roguelite that I'm trying to think of that guy's name. He had a big channel and then ended up making like a YouTube simulator game, which I thought was pretty funny. PewDiePie, I think is who it was.
Oh.
I haven't heard that name in a while. Sorry, it took a minute
Yeah.
to come back to my brain. Not a big fan of the channel, but whatever. They became a big YouTuber, but they did have like a upgrade your studio fee kind of thing, so you could like simulate the whole thing.
Oh, really? That was like a simulator game that they came up with. Oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah. What is it called? I think it's called Tuber Simulator.
Huh.
I mean, I don't think I found it. It's called Tuber Simulator. You've not heard of this?
No, I haven't.
I'm not sure it's a good game, but I thought the premise was kind of funny. I've not played it, so I can't say anything, but I did like the premise. I feel like these, maybe because I'm doing like a sushi restaurant simulator, but I feel like these simulator games are kind of like, they're fun little snack kind of games. You turn them on, spend 5 minutes to an hour, and then you kind of, there's no stress. You can kind of walk away kind of thing.
This looks horrible.
I mean, it looks pretty dated at this point in time. It's been around for a minute. Yeah, definitely looks dated. And then we had another comment from Sam about GLM 432B, which I did look up. One of the example is write a Python program that shows a ball bouncing inside a spinning hexagon. The ball should be affected by gravity and friction, and it must bounce off the rotating wheels realistically. And it's pretty impressive. It's just some sample Python app that they wrote. It's not bad. Wow. It feels like every day there's a new model that just trounces the competition in less memory. And it feels like it's early days. It just keeps it keeps marching forward.
Yeah. There's always
Yeah. And we talked about the LM leaderboard last time, right? Have you seen the translation leaderboard?
Translation? No.
So what's it called? Oh shoot! No, of course not gonna find it. I'm so sorry. My
Translation
apologies.
model leaderboard.
Yeah, I think it's part of LM Explorer or LLM Explorer. Perhaps. Oh no, it's on Open Router. My apologies. So I'll pop it in the chat here, but it's called the translation ranking and the LLM ranking.
Oh, Open Router. Okay,
yeah. I'll pop that into the comments
cool
here.
chart.
Right? Yeah. As a company that works, making charts.
I have no idea what it's showing.
You can't read it though.
Looks
Yeah.
really cool.
If you can't read it, then it's cool but useless, right?
I think the problem is that all the detail or the the legend on it. Yeah, I can't see what the colors are. I can't see which one. Oh, green is the top one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So if we look at top this month, I think is what we'd be looking at for translation. What I realized is that some of these are pretty small and pretty good at translation. That's kind of what I was looking at. I've been using Cohere's AI, I think I said a few months ago.
Yeah.
Just as testing, but like you could straight up build something to help you learn a language with these tools. And now I'm not out here trying to build Duolingo or anything like that, but I do find it a good exercise, the sample app, to go down and figure out if it works.
Right.
And I put a link in the chat there. I think it got cleaned before we saw the comments. Yeah, it's in YouTube, I promise.
I don't see a link in there.
Yeah, I know the early one didn't work either. It did
Okay.
land in YouTube. If you check the
Okay.
YouTube comments. I think on our end it doesn't come through, so they won't
Oh,
show us
okay.
spam. Yeah, which is
Um,
somehow doesn't know I'm on the podcast. But like some of
It's
these Quasar
interesting.
Alpha is like 450 tokens. It's kind of amazing.
I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Oh, okay.
Oh, my apologies. This is how many tokens they've taken. Oh, gotcha. I'm reading this totally wrong. It's not the parameters. Okay, now I get it. All right, yeah, my apologies. I was even reading the chart wrong. Okay. Yeah, maybe this chart isn't that great. And it's just who's being used the most is what we're looking at in the chart.
Oh, okay.
Or who's being picked the most. My apologies in the chart. Okay. Interesting. So Gemini 1.5. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to change topics completely.
No worries. And the reason I'm going down this path is because I used to use Microsoft's API for translation, Google's API for translation, I think one more. But basically, they're extremely expensive at scale. Like at Samsung, we used it for a few things here and there, and it is not cheap. Like
Right.
not even close to cheap. Very, very expensive. Microsoft ended up being the cheapest. And then looking at like the token cost here compared to the API call cost it's night and day. Because a tenth of the cost, if not like 1%. It's completely different, especially if you can run like Llama 3 offline. You can do French to English translation pretty well offline. Japanese is an edge case because it's harder. But yeah, it's impressive. Solves a real use case. Yeah. Anyway, food for thought. What were you going to bring up? My apologies.
I just learned about a really cool tool. I haven't played with it yet, but it looks really cool.
Okay.
Helicone.
Ooh.
Helicone.ai. Helicone.ai. A way of testing, building and adding metrics to your LLM applications.
Oh no.
And there's a few of these that are out.
I need to know about all of them, obviously, for obvious reasons. I like to know what's going on in the monitoring world. Let's be fair. Wow. Okay. Again, with the curve charts, we gotta like listen. We gotta let these people know that we can't be using. I think these are in fact splines, but yes. All right.
Yeah, looks pretty neat.
Okay. Yeah, some of this stuff I feel like, there was a monitoring memo that went out, I'd say mid 2000s or something, that we all got in terms of like just what we were talking about before. If you have a chart, it should be readable and obvious. And I feel some people may not have been around for this memo. Other people may have forgotten that they read the memo. But yeah, this looks pretty good. Again, I take umbrage with the type of graphs, but this is a really good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, they got HIPAA compliant already. That takes money. Excellent. Very cool. Yeah. Backed by Y Combinator. We talked about them a few times.
Y Combinator, yeah.
The integrations are pretty cool. Excellent. Yeah. No, I had not heard of Helicone before, but I will definitely get looking at this. This is fantastic. When I go to sign up, I get a 500 error. So maybe too many people are trying to sign up. Yeah, I can't load the getting started for free. But I'm sure that's just temporary.
Yeah.
Maybe all of us on the call are trying to sign up right now. But I will say at this point in time, like having been at NVIDIA GTC, a lot of the questions that we got as a monitoring company is like, how can you monitor agents is the most common question. And a lot of the times like, hey, if it uses a model, we can monitor those calls to the model. That's not a problem because they're all like standard calls, be it, I don't know, maybe you're using MSMQ or something like that, but those calls out to the model you can get, and you don't even need to do black box monitoring, but the inputs and outputs, no problem. The problem is people want to know what the LLM's doing inside of the LLM, and the answer there is like, nobody knows. We're all trying to figure this out. If we knew how the magic worked, I mean, we know a little bit around how it works, but at some point in time, the neural network kind of, I'm not going to say does its own thing, but does things that we're not expecting. As a result, it's difficult to sort of figure out what's going on. But this looks pretty handy.
Did you change your avatar, whatever for your. I mean, I'm just noticing in the comments. Your, I don't know.
Oh, am I
Is that a
logged in with
different
the wrong
picture?
user? Oh, maybe I'm logged in with my personal account. No,
It
this is
looks
the
like
same one. This
what's
is
it?
my old.
I mean, because it's so small, you have to. It almost looks
Squint.
like you're. Who's that actor who was
Is it
in?
better or worse? Tell me it's
I
better.
don't know. I mean,
I've had the same
Goonies.
profile picture since
Like
2004, I think.
it's like one of the kids that was in the Goonies, I think, or
Mm,
Gremlins.
phenomenal. Corey
Corey
Feldman?
Feldman, yes.
The ugly Corey, thanks. I'll take it. Listen, I'll take it.
Yeah,
An
yeah,
actor. Yeah.
yeah.
I will take it.
Have we covered MCP servers? We've a little bit. I think we've kind of dabbled.
A little bit, yeah. We haven't necessarily covered we haven't covered the fact that they are servers, which is an interesting design decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to put an endpoint in front of your endpoint because
Yeah, I mean it feels like, I mean, the whole idea, having a kind of a standardish way of writing these tools, okay, that's pretty useful.
Absolutely.
I think the actual implementation they did, it feels like, we know that when OpenAI built their API, they were not expecting people to like what they had done with ChatGPT, whatever, 2 or whatever, that
Right.
really kind of blew up. And so they hadn't really put enough time into building out a good API. And now
Right.
we're stuck with what they came out with.
And
then
the people testing it
Anthropic,
were programmers. once the Gen Pop got involved, it's like, oh, it's too late.
And I feel like Anthropic made the same mistake. They started building this idea, something internal use, great, and then they shared it before it was really ready. It didn't really. It is.
So I will say, Agent to Agent, A2A, which we kind of covered earlier, and which I've only read about, never played around with or anything like that. It was part of the announcements at GCN, Google Cloud Next.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be an answer to this, but also is not an answer to this because it's agent to agent. It's not agent to API. So it's like if you get two agents working together, that handoff or that communication or that protocol is my understanding is what's being defined. Missed an opportunity for also defining the agent to API definition, which MCP does cover, but feels superfluous if you've got tool usage. I know I'm kind of splitting hairs here, but it feels like we've got three things to do the same. So one is standard tool usage, which I think we talked about last week, I believe, or the week before, in the context of MCPs. And then we've got MCPs, which was an answer to tool usage, but didn't really cover tool usage, solved a different problem. And now we've got A2A, which seems like it was an answer to MCP, but also covers something different as a result. So now you've got like 4 layers of stuff that you may not need. So you've got your API, you've got the tool use extension, plugin, what have you. You've got the MCP, and I'm saying server here because it legit opens a port, which I'm not too angry about or anything like that, but like it's a port. And then the last is agent to agent, which presumably would use a protocol that's common between two agents. And now we're at like we're still in the software layer, but we're 4 layers deep in the software layer, and we haven't really done too much different. I guess is when I'm looking at all this stuff, it's like you probably didn't need all of this stuff. But again, these are 4 different places defining different standards for problems that they're seeing coming up. So it's going to take a little while for all of this to coalesce, congeal, slow down, and when it slows down, it feels like it'll all I don't know, like merge together or something. That's my soapbox rant.
I find what so N8N has the a way for publishing the tools as MCP, as well as consuming, and it does it pretty interestingly. And then also another one is Docker Desktop.
How's it doing? Interesting. And I do have Docker Desktop installed and updated actually. So
Yeah.
I'd like to talk. He's Gordon, right? Love to talk about
Yes.
Gordon here in a second. But how does it do it a little bit different in N8N in terms of tool usage? I'm interested in that.
Different. No, I was saying it's interesting that they are consuming as well as publishing.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha. That's actually really handy.
Yeah. And then Docker Desktop
Yes.
is pretty cool.
I still haven't tried it. It's flashing at me because got a little,
Mhm.
when they give you the new icon or the one alert or whatever.
Right.
I did update it. I did log in. It is
Yep.
there. I'm running like a mini Kubernetes cluster in Docker Desktop
Mhm.
right now for testing, and I'm like, do I really want to try this? Like, it's finally working.
So I mean,
Do I trust
so
it?
what's neat about Gordon? I mean, do you know where the name Gordon comes from?
No, you may have alluded to it last time though, and I
No,
totally
I
forgot. I
think
apologize.
I did, but I was wrong
Oh, okay. I mean, that
because
happened. It's
uh,
rarer for you.
well, when you first do a search, you think, well, Dockers, the pants Dockers has
Mhm.
another line of shoes which are Gordon's,
Mhm.
but this is unrelated
Oh, it
to
is. Okay.
this. It's completely. That's just
That was a good guess though.
yeah. So back in the original marketing materials for Docker,
Right.
there was a you would see there were like a few different characters. There was the whale, and there's a
Right.
turtle, and that turtle's name
I
it
remember
was
the
like his
octopus.
friend.
Okay.
There's octopus, I think, and then the turtle was a friend of the whale, and the turtle
Ah,
is Gordon.
gotcha. Yeah, there's a clamshell here as well. No,
Yeah.
these all had names, and there was an animator, right, who had done these.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of her name, but yeah, there was one person who had done kind of all these little
Mhm.
comics, which are pretty cool. Very cool. I
So
like
yeah,
this.
that's where Gordon name came from.
Very interesting. I like this. More a gleaming commentary here from Sam in the chat.
Oh my god.
But I think what Sam, if I could distill this down just a little bit, is that there's actually quite a bit of potential for MCP to become like a standard.
Yep.
And I would agree. I'm just not convinced that the standard encompasses
Yeah.
enough. Is I guess
Yeah.
my main complaint, in that I feel like opening up yet another port to something that's not secured properly is also not a good idea. But then again, maybe this is just me being a grumpy old man.
Right. And
Especially
SSE
sorry, go ahead.
mode.
Right.
SSE. So a lot of the examples that you'll find are just running the command locally, and
Yes.
SSE mode is what N8N is doing.
Oh, gotcha.
So I don't know if it has an option for running just npx command name. It's only N8N, or sorry, it's only the SSE. Those are the two possible ways of using it.
Gotcha. Sorry, I did a quick search and I came up with someone in the community 3 days ago came up with the Datadog MCP server, and I was just going through just to see what it was written in. And listen, we've heard people MCP server or not. We've definitely heard it, and the question is whether or not it's implemented in a specific way. Very interesting. I like it. Shoot, we're a little bit over. I didn't have a hard stop, but I should probably get back to work, and presumably you have to
I'm
get
trying
back to work
think
planning
if there
your
was
content.
anything. There was anything. Oh, I did. So I got something recently.
Okay. A microphone.
Because, well, no, that's coming. I mean, apparently it ships in 3 to 7 days.
Okay.
But I had. Did I mention under desk treadmills last time?
You certainly did, and I laughed about the Wahoo one that I was looking at that I thought was 2K, but was actually 5
that's right.
grand.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've returned both of them. They're garbage.
Did you buy the Wahoo?
No.
Oh.
No.
I mean, it can't be garbage for 5 grand, right?
They'll
install it for $300.
I have a beautiful place to walk outside.
That's kind of what I wanted to say, and I didn't want to be that troll. Like, hey, Matt, you live in a pretty nice area.
Yeah,
Summer's
and
coming.
so
Have you thought about
I just
walking
go
out?
for a walk. Yeah, and I listen to my it's interesting that most of the time that I'm watching YouTube, I
Mhm.
don't actually watch it. I just
Really?
I will on my phone. I open up my phone. I find a set of videos, and I download all to my phone. Start playing, and I just walk, and I have it in my
And you'll
pocket. I
listen.
don't even look. So
Gotcha.
most of the time I'm consuming YouTube, I don't actually see the visuals.
Gotcha. My issue is multilingual content, but I hear you. I
Mm,
watch a lot of Japanese videos just for funsies.
mm,
I think it
okay.
helps with the learning. But good point. Perhaps turning off the video would force me to listen
Yeah,
properly.
yeah.
So you're
Although
suggesting we should download your videos and not watch you. That might make for a
yeah,
better experience.
I don't know. I don't know.
The
Another thing that I
technovangelist
found,
without Matt might be good. Might be better.
I found another plugin. I probably shouldn't mention this. Another plugin that makes YouTube better. So first off, if you're consuming any YouTube, you should have
Mhm.
YouTube Premium or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
The
I get it under
20
Google
bucks a
One
month
or
or
whatever it is.
15 bucks a month,
Yeah.
and skips ads. I never see the ads that get injected into a video, but there's
Those are the worst
still
ones. Yeah.
ads. There's still ads that play, that are the actual YouTuber reading an
Oh,
ad
like mid-roll ads? You can
mid-roll,
oh,
like,
tell me
well, I
more.
mean
And the edited
that's
ads, right?
so I mean
Like
there's
Linus Tech Tips will just have a random segue and talk to you about screwdrivers now.
right,
And
exactly. So that
terrorists.
is somewhere
Sure.
in the middle.
Right.
And so there's a plugin, I can't remember what it's called, but it is kind of based on other users finding, watching a video and then saying, oh, here is an ad segment, and here is the end of the ad segment, of 2 minutes or whatever it is. And when I watch it, if somebody else has done that ahead of time, it'll play, and then just skip that 2 minutes and play. And there are some videos that have, 4 or 5 references to their email list or to their, whatever else, and it just skips past them. Now,
Is it
don't do that
Magic
with my videos.
Lasso by chance? Does that ring a
Maybe,
bell?
I don't know. I don't know which one I'm using.
I think the worst I've ever had was when YouTube was doing experiments in Canada, and it was like an unskippable, it felt like 15-minute ad. And I was like,
Yeah.
actually, I can just leave the video and come back, and it will continue without playing this nonsense. Like, thank you.
Right. Well,
But
the
yeah,
YouTube
interesting.
Premium skipping the ads that they inject in is great.
Right.
Plus, that's also what lets you download the videos.
The offline is
Yeah.
massive for me.
Yeah.
Massive. That is
So
so
I will-
fantastic.
I will
Not just that,
often-
but you're talking about playing in your pocket, right? The other thing you can do
Yeah.
is like play the video and then like lock your phone, and the audio
Right,
will
exactly.
continue, which I think without
Yep.
Premium you don't get.
You
And
don't
that
get,
sort of it was like an aha moment for me. Like, whoa, wait, I can do what now? Because a lot
Yeah.
of the content on YouTube, like you don't actually need to watch. It's just
Yeah.
there because they know where the ads
like-
are.
I first started doing that when I was watching, before I was the co-host for on with Brett Fisher and DevOps and Docker Talk. Before I did that, I used to consume a lot of his videos every week, but I never watched a single one. I always listened to it with it in my pocket, and I never watched one until I was the co-host.
I have,
and then I didn't watch them because I was in the because I was there. I don't want to watch myself.
Helpful Sam said he thinks it's sponsor Skip. I searched for that and found sponsor Block. Do either of those ring a bell?
It could have been.
Not so much.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll find it. So you heard
Don't
it here
do
first.
it for my videos. Disable it for my videos.
Exactly. You heard it here first. If you want to skip Max ads.
Because I've switched mostly over to Zen as my browser, which is Firefox based.
Okay, so Sam said that is infected. So sponsor Block, all one word, which I found at the Chrome store, Chrome Marketplace, whatever they call it now, is in fact there. All right. Should we find the end stream button and put me back to task?
Yeah.
At some point in time, I got to work on this conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, boom.